We are recording on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 12:04 p.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Ed Mireles, who's been on here a couple times before, most famously for your book about the FBI firefight, and I believe 1986. That link is in the description. But shout out to my mom who actually suggested this episode in about an individual who got in a shootout in 1975 and then executed two FBI agents on the ground. And I believe he is going to parole right now. And you were quoted in the article saying he showed no mercy, so he shouldn't be shown any mercy. But I think everyone who listens knows who you are. So, Miss Morales, let's just jump on into it. Could you talk about what you know about this case and is the very idea that he's going to trial at all or parole, is this indicative of a bigger problem of a rot of lack of the power and authority of institutions and kind of the continually increasing running amok of criminals and not upholding the rule of law?
Uh, Thanks, Tom, for the opportunity. This case is so complex and complicated, and it's also maddening on many levels to me because I'm a retired FBI agent. Um, the uninformed and the naive have some concept about Leonard Peltier, that he is some sort of a freedom fighter or a hero or some folklore, Robin Hood or something like that, and that is absolute crap. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, it's crap. It's crap. It's crap. Okay, Peltier is a cop killer. That's it. That's the final. That's the final. That's the up and down of it. Okay, that's the final word. He's a cop killer. He's worse than that, and I'll get into that with more details. The shooting happened on June 26th, I believe, 1975, and there were two agents involved, uh, Jack Coulter and Ron Williams. Um, Peltier came to the attention of the FBI back in 75 because he was wanted. There was a federal warrant for his arrest out of Wisconsin, and the FBI gets involved in interstate uh, fugitive hunts, like the Marshal Service. The Bureau gets involved before an individual is convicted. The Marshal Service gets involved after they're convicted.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're an escaped prisoner, the Marshal Service goes after you. If you're a fugitive from justice, that means you haven't gone to trial yet. The FBI gets involved up front.
Yeah.
So there was a warrant for Peltier's arrest, and the official title of the warrant was unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. He fled Wisconsin. He went to South Dakota, and he was hiding out. Okay, that's how he came to the attention of the FBI. Okay, otherwise, we wouldn't have had any dealings with him at all. So, and I don't know the full details, but he was spotted, or he was an informant advised the agents there on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation that they had seen him or something like that. So on the date in question, they went out there looking for a specific car that was supposedly linked to Peltier. And the whole incident started at about, if I recall correctly, it started about noon out there on the reservation. And they saw or they got information that a car had gone into down a trail, and as it turned out, it was a trail, but what ended up being was the agents drove into a box canyon. They basically drove into a dead end, like a cul-de-sac, except that instead of houses around you, you've got mountains or hills and stuff. And in the box canyon, there were, God, I don't really know I have to estimate, there were between 10, 12, 15 individuals lined up on the top of the hills. And when the agents drove in, they started taking incoming fire from they had the agents were at a total disadvantage.
Yeah.
The agents were down at the bottom of the hill, and the bad guys were at the top.
Yeah.
Total fire
Yeah.
superiority. And it was like 10 to 15 to 2. So they started a pretty intensive gunfight. And some people say, well, the gunfight lasted for 4 hours. They were shooting back and forth. In reality, I think the crime scene investigation proved that there was. They estimate that the total shooting was about 10 minutes. Okay, but 10 minutes can seem like 4 hours
Yeah.
when you when
Yeah.
you've got bullets coming
Shameless
over.
plug of your book. Your book, you do go with no, but you did. And I've actually, I've read hundreds of books for this hundreds of books for the show, and I do point, a lot of books have their superlatives. I do always do point to yours as one of the best ways to describe. I mean, the one or two adrenaline dumps I've had in my life is
Yeah,
the way you go into it. Really, I mean, it's almost a psychedelic experience. The way time
really. Yeah,
stretches out, and no, I think your book really is. And so this is me
right.
plugging it, not Mr. Mireles. Go grab his book and read it. It is, if anything, it is for the understanding of the dilation of time. But sorry, keep
Yeah,
going.
I like what you said. The psychedelic.
It does, man. The only thing that
Yeah,
comes close to it is like
e-
a really
exactly.
strong pop brownie, a hit of acid or something, where you're
Yeah,
out looking at the
exactly. Right.
trees and
It
you
it
think you've
is
been out there
it
for
is
four
certainly
lifetimes, and you're like, oh,
it
it's
it
only been
is
10 minutes. Yeah, no,
it
it's
it
yeah,
it is reality altering. So,
yes, yes.
but anyway, so during the gunfight, and a lot of people don't know this. The car that the agents were in, they were, and obviously one was driving, one was passenger. When they did the crime scene, there were 125 bullet holes in the car. Okay, and that's not even counting misses. I mean, think about how many bullets actually missed, or bullets that went through a glass and didn't stop. So they actually found 125 bullets in the car. Okay, so I mean, to say that they were outmatched. I mean, you're basically outmatched anyway. I mean, if you're dealing with 15 opponents, 15 to
Mm.
one or 15 to two, I mean, you're at a serious disadvantage. Plus, they had the high ground. So, but the kicker is this, okay? The agents were wounded. They went down. They stopped shooting. They couldn't fight anymore. So the assailants, the suspects, came down from the hill and approached the agents. They found the agents were on the ground wounded. Okay, and here's where Peltier comes into direct play. He went up to two wounded, helpless agents on the ground, and he shot both agents in the face, basically executed them. Okay, I mean that's a cop killer, plus times 10. I mean, you shoot a helpless person on the ground. I mean that just shows you the level of your character, I guess, or lack of character. So it gets even more detailed. All of the Indians, all of the AIM, the group was called AIM, American Indian Movement. The AIM members, every one of them had high caliber rifles, either 308s, 30-06s, or 300 Magnums. Peltier is the only one who had an AR-15, 223 caliber. The rounds that were removed from the agents at autopsy after they were shot and killed was a 223 caliber round. Okay, only one person on
Mm.
scene had a 223 caliber round. Okay, Peltier. I'm getting ahead of myself, but when he goes to trial, some of the participants, other suspects at the scene of the shooting, testified against him, in an effort to escape or to reduce any charges against him. So you had the physical evidence, the rifle, uh, witnesses, and that, like I said, that happened in June, and I think it was September. There was a car crash, totally unrelated but related. There was a car crash in Kansas on a turnpike in Kansas, and that car crash ended up resulting in a serious incident. And a car caught fire. And then when they investigated, they found a whole bunch of weapons in the trunk of the car. What they recovered from that incident was Agent Jack Coulter's rifle, a bureau issued rifle. He had a 308, and they found a 223 caliber rifle. Okay, so when they started doing forensics, examining the rifles, they showed that the .308 was an FBI weapon taken from Jack Kohler, and the 223 weapon was ballistically tested, and the forensics on the barrel matched the striations and the markings on the bullets that killed um, Jack and Bill. So I mean Jack and Ron, not Bill, William. Um, so that's a direct link right there. So and again, a lot of people think, oh, you know what, Peltier is a folk hero, he's a freedom fighter, and so on and so forth. If he was that, um, right after the incident, he fled to Canada. Okay, and if you're supposedly a Robin Hood, you don't flee to Canada. So eventually he was arrested in Canada in February 1976. That the incident happened in June '75. So the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, arrested Peltier because we issued a warrant for his arrest, and he was arrested in February, and then he fought extradition and so on and so forth. He was eventually transported back to South Dakota, where he stood trial. At the trial, all the evidence was presented against him. Witnesses testified against him, all the forensics and so on and so forth. And people said, hey, the other suspects, said, hey, the agents were down on the ground, okay? And he walked right up to them, stuck the barrel of the rifle in their faces and shot them, just cold-blooded murder, okay? So he goes to trial, all the evidence is presented, and then in 1977, he's found guilty of murder. And at the time, we didn't have a federal murder statute, because in the old system, the federal government didn't execute people. Now we do. We have some drug violations and terrorism violations. We do use like what the hell is his name? The Oklahoma City bomber. I forget his
Timothy
name.
McVeigh.
Yeah, McVeigh. Okay, he was
Mhm.
executed on a federal warrant.
Yeah.
So the the judge, the jury, got it right. I mean, everything was pointed against Peltier. So he goes to jail, and should have been a simple matter of, hey, do your time. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences. I know that's pretty harsh, but hey, you do the
Hey,
crime, you do the time. So
killed two people,
so
man. It's
anyway,
that
see,
seems pretty fair.
anyway, people don't know. Okay, the thing that precipitated the interaction
Yeah.
between him and the FBI was he was wanted. He was a wanted fugitive, attempted murder of a police officer in Wisconsin. Hey Tom, could you give me 1 minute?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it.
Okay, my dog
Go for it.
needs to
Go
go
for it.
outside.
Go for it. I'll vent. No, no, you're good. Um, yes, for everyone listening, and Mr. Mireles has been on here a couple times before. And his book FBI Firefight is actually about I think a firefight in Miami that actually changed I believe the actual I guess standard issue firearm. But yeah, no, I thought this was interesting because it's there always is that dichotomy of what is just and what is not, and what to what degree is standing up for yourself criminal versus just. And I think they're seeing here it's kind of hard I'm saying it's you always have to find what is the line between standing up for yourself and what is justified and what is not. And I think pretty across the board, I don't think you can justify execution. That that you can't really do that. I mean, even tier one units like zip tie people, from my understanding. Um, but yeah, no. So I was just I was rambling with my complete lack of experience in
No, no.
the FBI.
Okay, okay. So if we can continue,
Yeah.
so I mean, that should have been the end of the issue,
Mm.
But again, what people don't know is that in 1979, Peltier got involved with a group of fellow inmates, and they tried to escape from the penitentiary that they were housed in. And the information I've been able to dig up is that there was an armed an armed escape attempt. So again, if you're a freedom fighter, if you're some hero, I mean, I guess, I mean, I could be mistaken, I mean, but you wouldn't be trying to escape. If you do the crime, you do the time, But anyway, so this guy's not a nice guy. Okay, he warrant for attempted murder. He murdered two agents, and then he tried to escape, an armed escape from the penitentiary. Now we fast forward. Um, you get people like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, totally misinformed, uninformed, naive people, liberals, who say, "Oh, poor Peltier, he should be pardoned," and so on and so forth. They don't see the big picture. Peltier is a cop killer,
Mm.
plain and simple. He's worse than that. He executed two individuals. He put the muzzle of the rifle in their faces and killed them. I mean, they weren't fighting. They were wounded, totally defenseless. Okay, and he shot him in the face. So whenever I hear people say, "Well, he served his time," no, he hasn't served his time. I'm a forgiving man. When he serves his first life sentence and he starts his second life sentence, when he's halfway through that second life sentence, I'd be willing to consider a parole.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
up until that point, no. And the thing is, it's misleading. Okay, it's way misleading. This has gone up on appeal over a dozen times. I mean, people don't know that. Every few years, it comes up again. Well, you know what? The evidence was tainted. The witnesses were biased. The government is violated his civil rights. What every time it's something different, and it always gets upheld. This case, unbeknownst to a lot of people, has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. They appealed it. They got an appeal all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, "Get the hell back in line." This is the verdict stands. Okay, so I mean, I don't know what argument that they can come up with now, but I guess it's a person's constitutional right. I guess you can appeal, you
Sure.
can ask for mercy or clemency or whatever. But I'm just hoping some misinformed or uninformed liberal individual doesn't do the wrong thing. So that's my concern.
It's also, of course, I can't even. You, you're perhaps more mature, more experienced, but I'd also say more kind of merciful than I am in that I don't think I can even write them off as uninformed because you have this, you have the Summer of Love from 2020, and these same people that, let's just, for devil's advocate, let's say, sure, they're arguing for freedom of the individual from the tyranny of a centralized government. Sure, whatever. But then you will use the entire DOJ to hunt down grandmothers who walked into the Capitol on January 6th. I'm
Right,
not saying
right,
there
yeah,
weren't people lighting fires or attacking cops. Hey, same thing. Will you attack a cop on January 6th at the Capitol, or if I walk outside in 2024 and go punch a cop? Hey, man, there's gonna be some lashback. Don't be surprised at it. But it's hard for
yeah,
me to look at something like Peltier or Summer 2020, and then the same people who are saying this is just, misquoting, when tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty, and then you turn around and use the FBI and the DHS to legitimately go kick down the doors of grandmothers who
yeah.
walk through the
No, I mean,
Capitol with a flag.
I agree. The thing is, I mean, let's put it up front. I mean, what happened on January 6th shouldn't have happened. I mean,
Sure.
that was a stupid. The whole thing was stupid. Okay,
Yeah,
but being stupid isn't criminal. Okay, only criminal acts are criminal. Okay, and I
sure.
agree with you 100%. If you break windows, you break doors to get in someplace, or if
You're
you set
asking for
fires,
it.
or if you assault police officers, I mean, that's a crime. I mean, that's bottom line. Okay, and people should be arrested for that and prosecuted. But like you said, just for walking around the Capitol taking pictures, I mean, like a tourist. I mean, granted, I mean, it was a bad day to be a tourist, but you
Sure.
know, but you're absolutely right, though. I mean, the punishment should fit the crime. Okay, a grandmother walking around the Capitol, is one thing, but you have like a guy like Peltier, okay, who has a history of assaulting police officers, and it was attempted murder on a police officer in Wisconsin. Okay, so again, the guy's not an angel, okay, or a misunderstood, individual. I mean, you if I have a warrant outstanding for me for attempted murder on a cop, I'm thinking, holy cow! I mean, I that's pretty serious.
Yeah, it's just it does jump up a notch. So I mean, I'll extend the devil's advocate to people in 2020. I'm 33. Okay, what if I was a 33-year-old black guy? I see George Floyd. I don't have the full story yet about fentanyl, and I get all righteous indignation, and I break a window of a parked cop car, and there's no one in it. That's stupid, and I'm probably gonna go serve 6 months or something, or pay a fine, or have 1,000 hours of community service. But no, that guy also shouldn't be arrested. Now, again, if you're lighting police stations on fire, you're looking for trouble. When
Right,
it comes
exactly,
to
right,
and
right,
it when it
exactly.
comes exactly, so I'm with you. I'm with you. Like you do, there is a level of leniency, but man, I don't really know what the level of acceptance is walking up to people on the ground and shooting them in the face. I mean, I would go so
No,
far as to say
no,
if there's doing a no-knock warrant and you're in your home and you've got a kid and a wife and someone kicks down the door, you don't know if that's a cop or if that's a home invader. Sure, I think you're
yeah,
probably in your rights to fire.
yeah.
Execution on the ground, man. I don't really. Where's the wiggle room?
No, there is no wiggle room. I mean that's pretty much open and shut. So, and in my opinion, I mean maybe someone out there can convince me otherwise, but I doubt it though because I mean put yourself in that position.
Hmm.
If you're wounded, helpless on the ground, and then your adversary walks up to you, and instead of showing you mercy or say, hey, listen, okay, we'll call it a day. He puts the weapon in your face and blows your face off. It's like okay, it's a whole different level. So I mean, you're bordering on almost a sadistic. I don't know what other word I can use.
A
So
messianic power
yeah,
trip.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. It's. I mean, I look at like I've interviewed Mike Durant, the Black Hawk Down pilot. I've also interviewed like some of the Delta Force guys that were in Mogadishu. Like they were zip tying people. They were blowing people's brains out, but they were also zip tying people.
yeah,
I mean, if Delta Force is zip tying people, I have to be like, hey, even the most lethal killers on the planet, there's a level of like rules of engage. And I'm not saying Delta
right,
Force are angel. I'm friends with some Delta Force guys. They're the hardest people you ever meet in your life. But my point
yeah,
is like even that
yeah,
there's a level of and again, I mean, as a 33-year-old with a biology degree, I also understand I'm speaking way out of my field of expertise. But I mean, I don't know. You're alone in a house, you're barricaded, and you're taking pot shots like the Columbine shooters. They were up, in a library with a bunch of dead kids, wounded kids, firing at police. You're asking for suicide by cop.
yeah,
Man, you're on the ground, wounded, and you're outnumbered. I'm 15-2. I mean, come on. At a certain. So
yeah,
my point is I think we're in agreement. Well, then I don't think, and like you said, and when you were quoted for that article, he showed zero mercy or humanity. I don't think he can be showed any in return. I'm not saying torture him, but hey, man, you live your days
yeah.
out in a cell.
Yeah, you know what though? I mean, that's see, my wife and I disagree. I'm of the opinion. I mean, I'm in a small school of thought that says, hey, you know what? If you murder a cop, you should be executed
Oh,
forthwith. I mean,
I'm with you. Sure,
But
yeah,
my wife says, no, no, no. You shouldn't execute them. You should let them live as long as possible in a little tiny room.
that is.
With 1 hour a day to walk. Outside. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I like the way you think, babe, but the problem is that's cost money.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
You know,
that
it
is
costs
a
money to keep a prisoner like that, you know, a lot of money.
yeah.
So, you know, a bullet only costs 10 cents, I guess, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Is yeah, it does cost money. I wonder which one serves more as a deterrent, execution or, I mean, what do they call ADX Florence? That's like the domestic Guantanamo. They call it the clean version of hell. That one out in
yeah,
Colorado. Ted Kaczynski was there.
yeah.
Hansen, the FBI mole, was there. I think Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or Yusuf, whoever was
That's
out there.
that's in Colorado, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. ADX Florence.
Yeah,
It's out in the mountains. They call it the clean version of hell because
yeah,
people there ask to be killed. I don't know, man.
yeah,
There's something to be said for that. Sit in a room for
yeah,
eternity.
yeah. But you
That's
know what
pretty
though,
hellish.
Tom,
Yeah,
there are some people in this world, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, what you do. I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, it might be too much of an extreme, but there are some people out there that say, well, you know what, though, Hitler wasn't such a bad guy. He doesn't deserve to die. He should spend the rest of his life in jail. You know, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with that. You know, there are some
sure.
people, honestly, that should be executed. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, bottom
yeah,
line, you know. But am I a person to be able to make that judgment? No, because I have biases. You know.
sure. No, I'm with you. Yeah, sure. And it's you can't. There's also like the naivety of
Yeah,
like, hey man, like the only language that is truly universal is violence.
yeah.
Right. And that is what separates us from the dogs. And if you're going to act like a dog, you should be put down like a rabid dog.
Well, you know what though? I agree. You know, however, I liken it more to wolves. Okay, I mean
Okay.
dogs. You know, dogs are domesticated. Wolves are not. Okay,
Mm,
if you're in a wolf pack, I mean it's I mean it's really I mean survival of the fittest. You know, kill or
mm,
be killed. You know, and unfortunately, I think our society is moving in that direction.
mm.
I think people are starting to they're starting to tolerate too much. They're saying, oh, you know, it's only shoplifting, you know. Okay, only shoplifting. If you shoplift a loaf of bread, okay, I've heard people say, well, they're hungry, they just need food. Okay, shoplift a loaf of bread. Okay, okay, I'm willing to blink my eye and let you walk away. But when you shoplift the TV, okay, that's worth $500. That ain't no loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Okay, you know,
Yeah.
you're shoplifting for a different reason. Okay, and what are those states out west? If you
California,
shoplift less than a
950.
thousand dollars, you know it will let you go. It's like, oh my God, man, you got to be
Yeah.
kidding me. You
Yeah.
know, so my point is, you know, I think we're getting to a point where we're tolerating too much that wasn't tolerated before. Oh, you know what? He only punched the old lady in the face one time. Okay. So he really isn't a bad guy. He's just misunderstood. Dude, you get this 20-year-old, 30-year-old man punch an old woman, 60, 70-year-old woman in the face and knocks her down and steals her purse. Oh, but you know what though? We you know, we he's misunderstood. And it's like, dude, yeah, he's gonna misunderstand my boot in his ass, you know. So I mean, we just can't you know, I don't know what's wrong with our society. We're tolerating stuff that should never be tolerated. I mean, think about it. I mean, my mother, you know, before she died, she was in her 80s. Can you imagine if some 6 foot tall man in his 30s punched my mom in the face? I'd kill him.
You
I'd kill
kill
that
him.
guy in a second.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know what's wrong with our society. Well, you know what? He only shoplifted $500 worth of material or stuff. It's okay. You know, he's hungry. Just, yeah, right. Give me a break, you know?
Yeah. No, well, you're taking that from somebody else. That's not free. You're
Exactly.
taking that from a
Yeah.
shop owner. Is that shop owner
Yeah.
not hungry? Does that shop
Yeah.
owner not have a family? No,
Exactly.
it does. We are tolerating more and more and more, and it seems absurd for me, and it seems absurd for you. But I think if we were to zoom out more past the own lengths of our human, I mean, what my grandmother and grandfather were born in the late 20s, and I knew them well. So like you could argue like my experience goes back to the 1920s. I knew people well that were born then. Okay, sure. My
Hmm.
great grandmother was born in 1902. I don't really remember. I remember meeting her a couple times when I was really little. But you could say I have a direct experience, not books, not pictures, but I actually, and as you and as whoever, But even then, it's like we'll call it 1920 till now. It's roughly 100 years. Like that still might not be enough. If you zoom out more, this might be the natural. There might be a natural ebb and flow. I mean, human civilization is what it's like widely agreed that we first started farming around 10,000 BC. On the scale of 12,000 years, there might be 1,000 year ebbs and flows of essentially tolerating bullshit. And then it hits a level and there's an inflection point, and then there's a totalitarian lashback. People want a strong man. And if there's not a government strongman, you're going to start having vigilantes who say, you know what, you're not stealing from my store. I don't care if it was $900. Like you're dead. And
Yeah.
this might, but it happens on such a long timeline that to us, it's like, when did this happen? But this might have happened 100 times in human history. And right now we're reaching a point of further and further tall. A grown man wants to go into a bathroom with young girls because he thinks he's a woman. We're tolerating it. Like this, we might, you might hit a level of criminality or of degeneracy that we've maybe gone through 100 times over 10,000 years, and then you hit it.
Yeah, but see, let me ask you this question. Let's say it's happened 5 times over the last 10,000 years.
Yeah.
What was the result when that snapped?
Oh, the result is an insane. Oh, I'm not defending this. The result
Exactly. You
is
know, you see
the result is
the
at
result.
best Nazi Germany. At
That's
best, it is
yeah,
the result is slaughter,
yeah,
hyper
right,
hyper tight
right,
knit communities, hyper,
exactly, right. See,
Hammurabi, eye for an eye. I'm with you. And
if you let things, if you pull things one way so much,
uh,
when it snaps back, is going to be hell to pay. Okay,
yeah,
and I would prefer that we not do that. I would prefer that we stay in the middle of the road.
I'm with you. Hey,
Okay,
I'm with you.
there's always wobble. There's always wobble back and forth. Okay,
I
but now I mean we've gone off the rails. We've
I
gone off the reservation.
I
I
always
mean
have to
we're going off a cliff. So
I always have to make this clarification on the show. Just because I'm observing something doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it or want it. It's just an observation. And I'm with you. No,
yeah, yeah,
what is the lashback?
yeah,
what precipitated, Hitler coming in 1933? Sure, you have the Treaty of Versailles, World War One, where all the Triple Entente or the Allied nations really, really destroyed German economy and impossible reparations. But you also have Weimar Germany. Weimar Germany is known for the inflation, but it's also known for insane degeneracy. It's known
yeah,
for there was a quote going around, like people put these flyers up in Germany, and it was Berlin, take a breath, your dance partner is death. Because like it was a thing where people were waking up in the morning and they were replacing coffee with like vodka and ether. People were getting, and there was men wearing makeup and wearing
yeah,
bras, and like
yeah,
what was the lashback?
yeah,
A bunch of goose stepping Nazis. So
yeah,
that's my point, is like I'm with you. Let's stay in the center. Let's not go too far one way or the other. However,
yeah,
it tends to look like you have things like the Inquisition, or you have like, you have Empire, you have the Dark Ages. This is what happens. So, hey man, we can keep tolerating it. The slingshot in the other direction is going to be biblical,
yeah, yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. And then, people are going to say, oh my God, you're such a bad, no, I mean, it's like, hey, you started this.
It's hey man, you threw a ball up in the air. Don't get
Yeah.
angry at me that it's coming back down.
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
do this. All right. I'm gonna step out of the way, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, no, that thing's come. That bowling ball you guys shot up. Yeah, no, it's hitting its peak. Okay, it's coming
Yeah.
back down. Oh, look, it's hitting terminal velocity.
Yeah.
Get out of the way, man. Get out. And then when the crackback comes, then you kind of goes in the other direction. What happens
Yeah.
after World War II,
Yeah.
the Greatest Generation? Yeah, Woodstock. So who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe this is like this might be a
Yeah.
theme that is far beyond you and I's understanding in our own
Yeah.
lifetime.
Oh, you know what, though? I'm sure it is. There's no doubt, but I mean, you know what, though? Even if it's beyond our understanding, on an intellectual level, it's not beyond my understanding and common sense. Okay.
Yes.
It's like common sense. I mean, it's like, hey, you know what? You don't steal merchandise from a store.
Correct.
Okay, I mean that's not. I mean it's illegal and it's immoral. I mean it goes against religious instruction. Okay, and I don't know whether people know what religious instruction is anymore in today's society, but I mean, it's illegal and it was immoral. Okay, I mean, common sense stuff, it's like you don't punch a 60, 70-year-old woman in the face, a 30-year-old man that should not punch a 60, 70-year-old woman in the face to take her purse. I mean, that's simple common sense, okay?
I'm with
And
you.
in my opinion, that man, common sense, should get an ass whipping.
Mm.
Okay, if you catch them. I mean, and again, people have a tendency to shy away from the ass whipping. Oh, he's misunderstood. He needs mental health attention. Yeah, he also needs an ass whipping.
Mm. Yeah.
I'll give
No.
him the mental health. I'll give him the mental health aid, but he also needs a good ass whipping. He'll
Yeah.
remember that a lot more, a lot quicker than the mental health issues. So
Yeah, it's the mom and dad dichotomy.
yeah,
Mom, you're a little kid, are you cranky? Do you need a nap? But then there's also that certain point in that age where all of a sudden, like dad comes home and is like, well, now you're disrespecting your mother. There's a level of
yeah,
like, baby doesn't know what's wrong. He's two
yeah,
years old. He doesn't know that it's wrong to steal. All of a sudden, you're 16 and you start, talking back to your mom. Your dad's rightfully going to put his foot up your ass. And that
yeah,
doesn't mean he doesn't love you. If anything, it means he
yeah,
loves you a lot. And it's,
yeah,
what you said about common sense is, you know, because yeah, we're talking about these kind of grand themes of centuries and millennia. It's like, no, you do have to also come back down to the here and now and go, that guy walked up and executed two unarmed people on the ground.
yeah,
You can't you can't start, well, what you Weimar German. Shut up. He walked up
yeah,
to two individuals and shot
yeah,
them in the face. That's an
yeah,
animal.
yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, that's all you need to say. And I don't care how you try to spin it. Okay, and I don't know what to call people who do that. I don't know whether they're
Lawyers.
liberals or what, they're naive but there are people out there who will try to spin it, saying, "Oh no, but he's paid his debt to society." No, he hasn't. He has not.
Well,
Okay.
that comes into an important point is it's like, so at what point does someone, pay their debt? You can't get blood from a stone. So my logic with that is it doesn't mean that you can't be Christian, doesn't mean that you can't pray for someone, doesn't mean that you can't, you know, you can ask for mercy from God. Like I understand. That doesn't mean that these people should be, Peltier shouldn't be tortured. Like, no, we're not, it's not the 1500s. We shouldn't, light them on fire. But then there's also deterrence. And so deterrence is you have to then go, okay, this guy, it's been almost 50 years. He's served his time. Okay, in a vacuum, you might be able to make that argument, and I might even agree with you. But what you have to look at is there's a there's an outcome where this guy is released, and someone goes, well, I can get away with it now. And now there are two more FBI agents who are my age, who have wives and kids and parents. And now what happens if they're executed because somebody paying attention to this goes, oh, the justice system, they do eventually give way after 50 years. Well, now Peltier being released is directly harming two more innocent people who didn't do anything to him. So there is
Right.
also deter. Oh, you got drunk and you crashed into someone and you killed them, and you were 18 when you did that, and you're serving life in prison. No, I'm with you that that person's probably learned, but what you're doing now is by that serving deterrence, you have someone else go, yeah, man, remember Bob from high school? He's been in jail since senior year, and he's going to be in jail for life. I hear that and I go, yeah, I should probably call an Uber. I've had a couple beers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
now you're saving the innocent who maybe otherwise I would have plowed my car into.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is also that calculation of like, hey man, you fucked up, and
Yeah.
other people are gonna they're not gonna have to pay for it. You are gonna
Yeah.
serve as deterrent.
Yeah.
It's in a less eloquent way. It's chopping the head off and putting it on a spike outside of town and say, don't mess around. Serve a lesson, man. I'm not saying
No.
I'm not saying it's
See,
happy. I'm not saying it's
I'm not.
just. Yeah.
I I'm not a put the head on the spike type of guy. I'm the type of guy that likes to put people in a, I don't know what they call them in the old medieval days when they had those hanging cages,
Oh yeah.
and they put the people inside the hanging cage, and then they would just leave them there forever,
We
you
put
know.
him in town square. Yeah, no, till they turn to a
I
skeleton.
mean, that's terrible. Of course, I'm just kidding. No, but listen, I don't want the audience to think that I'm holier than thou or better than
No, it's
anybody else, But the thing is, we have to look at things with a common sense lens, okay? And you know what? Honesty. That's why we have a our judicial system is made up of juries. Okay, if it were up to me, I know I could be a very hard man when it comes to cop killers. Okay, that's why I can't sit in judgment of a cop killer because I have too many biases. I mean, I would just, it would be disastrous for them. That's why we have a jury of our peers. In depending on some jurisdictions, it's a jury of six or a jury of 12, depending on the status of the court. But I mean, I don't want the listeners to think, hey, listen, I think I'm better. I think I'm holier than you are. I'm not, but there we need to look at these situations at life, whether January 2020 or the shoplifting or whatever. We need to look at it with a common sense lens. Okay, and and I am a lenient person. Okay,
well,
to a point. To a point. Like you said, hey, listen, if you're a drunk driver and you kill someone else because you're drunk, okay, you know, should you go to jail for the rest of your life? Probably not, but you should go to jail.
hmm,
Okay, you should have some time to think about what you did. And I'm a lenient man. I go to jail for 10 to 12.
sure.
Think about it for 10 to 12 years, and then after that, okay, fine. I hope you've learned your lesson. And then there are some sentences for homicide in some jurisdictions. The usual sentence for those types of crimes are uh, 25 to 30 years in prison. So they always preface it 30 to life, 30 to life. Okay. There is some flexibility in there. I mean, they're not going to send you away for your life. Okay. But they are sending you away for 30 years.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have to do a minimum of 30 years. Okay. And you said you're what, 36?
33.
33? Okay. If we sentence you to 30 to life, you'd get out when you're 63, or you'd be eligible. I mean, so like Dumb and Dumber. So
You're
so you're
saying there's
saying
a
there's a
chance.
chance. Yeah.
It's
There is some leniency in the system, but still, though, when you think about it, you take another human being's life, either robbery or rape or whatever. I mean, that's a pretty severe criminal act. I mean, it's like, you
uh,
know,
it's I mean, yeah, I remember it was like last November, I think. And I've never driven so my godfather, my uncle who was named after was in a drunk driving accident back when he was like 20 or so, and he's pretty much been in a wheelchair his entire life. And I've always just been since I was little. It's just been ingrained into us like drinking and driving. It just never, not once, not ever.
yeah,
So it's been more fear of anything. But even like last November, like I live downtown. Like last November, I was having a couple of beers and I was like there's a subway downtown, and I was like, oh, I could. I mean, it is literally when I say it's 15 seconds in a car, I mean it is. I could like see it, and I was
yeah,
looking at it, and I was like, well, how many have I had? I've had like 4 or 5 beers, and I was like, what's the? And I just had this moment of like this calculus, and all of a sudden I was just like, this is retarded. Just call an Uber. I was like, it's $10. Just doing it. I was like, don't even. I was like, this should be a fleeting moment where I go and get a sandwich. This shouldn't be something that potentially ruins the rest of my life. And like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
why did I even have that thought? And it's because I know of just how unlenient the jury system or the legal system is with drunk
yeah,
driving. So
yeah,
that's a deterrence, man.
yeah,
That I was like, you know what? How badly do I need that sandwich? I'll just do it.
yeah.
I'll get an Uber. It's just not worth it. there is value to that. There is weight to that. You
Yeah.
have to have deterrence. It just is what it is.
You
It
know,
is
but
what it is.
in spite of what you just said, deterrence, I've seen, I'm twice your age, and plus some. I've seen too many cases where people, it's not a choice between deciding to drive after drinking. Okay. I've seen situations where there are people who just don't care
Well, that too.
about anybody else.
Well, that too.
Okay. Now, those are the types of people that I have no leniency for.
None.
You have people that will steal a car and then they'll drive 120 miles an hour, in a school zone, okay, causing the police to chase them. They'll wreck 10 cars, during the chase, and then they'll crack up the car that they stole. And then, as luck would have it, they're either not injured, or if they are injured,
They never get hurt.
because of the adrenaline, they don't know they're injured.
Yeah.
So they get out and they fight the cops and then they go to jail. Now, a person like that, now that type of individual who obviously doesn't care for anyone or anything else. I mean, that's the type of person you need to reach.
Mm,
Okay. That's the type of person who should go to jail for 30 plus.
mm.
Okay. Because I mean, there are certain people, it's like, hey, you go into I see it a lot, it's like, especially up in the north and the northeast, you have like a block party or you have a discotheque, or do they call them discotheques still?
I don't
Or,
know. Why not? Go for it.
whatever the modern term is, you have a disco or a block party or something, and you have some Yahoo who shows up in there, irresponsible, has a gun in his pocket. He doesn't like what the way someone's looking at him, or
Yeah.
what somebody told him, pulls out a gun and shoots, let's 10, 15, 20 rounds fly. He doesn't care.
No.
Okay, he doesn't care who he shoots, whether he kills or maims anybody. He does not care. Now that's the individual that I want to reach out and touch.
Mm,
Okay, I want to touch them. Okay, I want to put them. If they're not put down automatically, by suicide by cop or whatever, they should go to jail for 30 plus years.
mm.
Okay, because those type of people, you can't rehabilitate somebody like that.
No.
Okay. And I know your listeners might say, hey, who the hell are you? You're not a psychologist. You're not a prison psychologist. No, I'm not. But I have been around. I've been around a lot of criminals. I've been around a lot of suspects, drug dealers and bank robbers and fugitives and all different kinds of people. There are some people in this world that just don't give a shit
Yeah.
about anybody else but themselves. And they don't care if they hurt you, if they maim you, if they steal your property, if they bankrupt you, they don't care. Okay, now those, like I said, those are the people that I want to reach out and touch. I want to get my hands on them, exactly, so
Yeah. It's
so
those.
there's again, there's various levels, I mean, like I said, but I think I can be fair to criminals.
Well, it's also no, those are people, yeah, again, that everyone around them are either potential tools to be used or they are simply things in the way. And they toss
Exactly.
you out of the way the same way you do. You're walking on the floor and you see there's a pillow, you move it, I
Yeah.
walk to the bathroom, my shoes on the floor, kick the shoe out of the way. There are
Yeah.
people that view anyone around them like that. And we
Exactly.
know about famous ones who are, dictators or kings, but it also happens in your neighborhood. It can be someone that
Yeah.
just doesn't, it's the drunk driver. Maybe they didn't rise
Yeah.
to power and create a dictatorship, but there are people that have the same disregard for human life. And it always comes down to it's hard for people, myself included, to understand that because that's not who I am. That's not who my brothers are. That's not who my parents are. That's how none of my friends are that I grew up with. So it's hard for me to understand that there are people who don't like the general decency you have when you slow down and let someone else come across, or you hold the door, or you see someone drop the wallet and you pick it up and give it to them. That sort of baseline default you have that you probably, like myself, incorrectly assumed was the natural state of most people. There are
Yeah.
people that don't have that common decency, and it's hard for
Right.
good people to imagine it. it's what's I interviewed this guy Baz, who's a former tier one special forces, and he spent the last 30 years rescuing trafficked children, sex trafficked children, the worst of the worst,
Hmm.
toddlers used as for prostitutes, the worst evil. And he's like,
Yeah.
it's hard for the average person to understand that other people are capable of this because I see a kid and yeah, how you doing? Yeah, if I get in the elevator in my building, I see, I'm like, how old are you? I'm this many. Give him a hand, a little handshake or
Right.
something. There
Yeah.
are people that want to have sex with them, and it is
Right.
nearly impossible. The same way it is for a dog to understand calculus. I can't understand that. I don't want to understand it, but what you do have to understand is those people exist, and they can only be the only language they speak is ruthless violence, is consequences to their actions. And a good person can't wrap your head around that. They do exist, and they will
Yeah.
use
Oh,
every part
absolutely.
of your patience. They will use the good-hearted nature of you to their advantage. And to
Right.
bring it full circle, that's what this is, man. This guy shot two people in the face. He is
Yeah.
playing on the kindness of the average person's heart. Oh,
Right.
it's been 50 years. I
Yeah.
just want to get out and go visit my grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey man,
And
no,
he's not a freedom fighter. He wasn't a freedom, oh
no.
my God, he's, the American Indian movement. Okay, we want, Indian lands back, from the from the European settlers or whatever. It's like, dude, you'd have to turn the time machine back to 1620 Plymouth Rock,
Yeah,
to get your land back. I mean, it's not going to happen.
yeah,
It's like, you just, I mean, was it wrong for the Europeans to take Indian land? Yeah, but I wasn't around back then to
yeah.
voice my opinion.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like how far back are
So
we gonna push this?
it's like, I mean, we have to go with what life is now. Okay, I mean, New York City is New York City. Okay, supposedly they bought it from the Indians for
For a couple
for
shells,
yeah, for some necklaces or
long
something. I don't
poles or
know.
something. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Was that wrong? Well, it was a good buy. But
Yeah. No, but that is the case though. It's like
yeah,
I'm Irish Catholic, man. You don't think you don't think that my ancestors came here and saw some need not apply signs? They did, but you
yeah,
know what? I
yeah,
don't hold it against anyone because I was
yeah,
born in 1990. I didn't
yeah,
come here on a ship, all right? And I'm blessed that I
yeah,
didn't. But that
yeah,
shit's over. Okay? I
yeah.
didn't enslave any. As a matter of fact, my ancestors fought for the Union Army, but I'm not asking for any reparations because
Right.
I didn't know them and my grandparents didn't know them. My grandparents' grandparents might have known them.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's
Yeah,
gone. It's
I'm the same way. I mean, my ancestors were living in huts in South Central Mexico. It's
yeah,
like,
it's
okay,
like,
we
dude,
were
what are we
living in,
doing here? What are we
yeah,
doing
really,
here?
we were
Uh,
living in trees. So it's
yeah,
like, give me
exactly.
a break.
It's like, yeah, man, I'm not exactly. So it's like my ancestors, I came through Portland, Maine, where I am now. You don't see me walking around demanding rep. Now I shut up and just do my podcast, and I'm blessed to
Yeah,
be alive and healthy. Just shut up. I mean, really,
yeah,
just shut
exactly.
up. That's kind of the in conclusion. If you're just now tuning in conclusion, it's shut up. Um, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, man, I think we're on the same page with that. It's like,
No, yeah,
dude,
no, but
it,
you hit the nail on the head though. There are people out there that what they use and abuse. Okay,
yes,
it's
they will
just
use your kindness.
it's what's in it for them. And let's like you say, a lot of these types of people are predators.
Yeah.
Okay, and unfortunately, they're child predators or young ladies or young boys or whatever. So it's like, and unfortunately, I think our society, like I mentioned before, we're getting to a point where we tolerate more and more and more, and I think that's we shouldn't do that. It's crap. We should tolerate less and less and less. Okay, it's like, hey, you know what? Though I can, I mean, you can be open and liberal all you want, but you know what? There has to be a line. It's like, hey, you violate the law. You violate. If you violate a child, I mean, that should be the end. That should be the end of the story.
Executed on the spot. Yeah, no,
So
it's
yeah,
we'll we'll wrap it up with, and again, I can't recommend enough, guys. Please go grab his book. It's in the description. But the guy I interviewed, Baz, is he talks about, he's like, there's a handful of cases in his 30 years of, hunting down pedophiles He's like, where you find someone who's truly insane. And it's not just because they're acting crazy, wiping shit on the walls. He's like, you can tell because they don't try to hide it. There's no hiding it.
Yeah.
That's someone who legitimately they're not there. He's like, but the vast majority of people, they go to great lengths to bury the bodies, to hide the
Yeah.
bodies, to make they
Yeah.
make I'm just Bob, I'm just your neighborhood friendly Bob. The
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah. Yeah.
people who go and he's like, they're flashing people in downtown and he's like, that's someone who's not all there and they need to
Right.
be arrested. The people
Right. Right.
that
Right.
dissolve the bodies, that
Yeah.
hide, they know
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing, and those are demons from hell.
Right. And you know who they are, Tom? The crazy ones, okay, they're bad enough, but the real scary ones are the smart ones.
Well, precisely.
The smart ones.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They know
Yeah.
exactly what they're. I'm in a sweater vest like Mr. Rogers. No, I didn't
Yeah.
see her around here. And then they
Yeah.
find me and you find her thumb somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that guy knows what he's doing. There's no
Yeah.
dude. You blow their face off right there. That's
Yeah.
and it's
Exactly.
and it's hard for the average person, myself included, to understand that to go I don't because I grew up with such loving parents and loving aunts and uncles and teacher I truly have been blessed on this earth, but you have to understand that there are people who will specifically prey on that good nature. They
Yeah.
will, and
Exactly.
it's you have to understand that, and it's hard to understand, but you have
Yeah.
to understand it. But
Yeah.
Mr. Morales, kept you for an hour. Let's wrap this one up.
Well, thanks, Tom. I really appreciate your invite. I mean,
Yeah, man, it's
like I
been a
said,
minute.
anytime, and
Yeah.
I've got a couple of more books pending.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully I'll have my second book out at the end of the summer. Maybe we can arrange to
I would
have
love
another.
to. Yeah, I'll shoot you a text right now,
We
and
can
we'll and
we
we'll
can uh, we can talk about my second, third books. So,
let's.
but it's pending. It'll take a few more weeks, to get it out. So
I just texted you right now, so it's a reminder for myself that we'll schedule the next
okay,
one. Yeah, dude, I'd love to do it. I'd love
okay,
to
my friend.
talk about your next book, man. It's always a hoot talk. It's been a minute, and yeah, man, it's good catching up with you, dude.
Okay, Tom. You
You're
take care up there in Portland. Okay.
yes, sir. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Please go grab his book, and we'll schedule the next one. I'll have you on at the end of the summer. We'll do the next book. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Morales, guys. Thank you for watching.